Okay, so now up to number 12, Triannual Water Management Zone Committee update. I'd like to welcome our Water Management Zone committees and members to the table. Good morning.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, mate.
No, it's okay. It's okay. There we go, there's another one.
Oh, excuse me.
We'll move over.
Thank you, Yanni.
That's a tight squeeze.
Kia ora. Thank you for your time today. I just want to have a few words to start off with, just to acknowledge the passing of Charlie Crofts, one of the great leaders of Ngāi Tahu on the treaty settlement group, and also a former member of the Selwyn Te Waihora Zone Committee. So it was a really sad passing, and felt deeply by members of our committee and throughout Ngāi Tahu. So we've actually presented only probably a couple of months ago, and we've had 2 meetings since, so I'm going to keep this really brief and kind of rock it through and give the others a bit more time. So part of that, we've had a bit of a refresh. I've been elected as the chair, and Alana Kidd has come on as deputy. We've also welcoming Alice Docking as our youth representative. Alice is on the Youth Ropia representative at Environment Canterbury. She holds a degree in environmental management and currently undertaking her Masters in Planning at Lincoln University, and is also studying Te Reo. So it's a great addition to have such a vibrant and really engaged member joining us. Whoops, I'm so sorry. Is that down? Okay, cool. So in many of our workshops, we've been talking about our action plan for the next 12 months and onwards, and kind of confirming where we want to head in the next 12 months. So we have also been supporting a number of kind of on-the-ground actions, and you can kind of read them on the board. I just note that Councillor Vicky Southwood and James Booker attended the student learning about native biodiversity, and Matt Stanford and Enviro Schools have been supporting the local schools in their operations. So what are we going to do in the next few months? So we're going to confirm our action plan and start getting into it. Some of the things that we've been thinking about specifically are around the upcoming Muriel review of zone committees and what we can do to influence kind of freshwater management in our zones going forward. And we're starting to talk as a zone, and we'll be kind of talking to the other kind of chairs about this. I think it's a really opportune moment to think about how really engaged, well-educated, knowledgeable and people who understand their space can actually provide really useful and benefits to councils across the board, helping them with the way that they manage kind of natural resources in Canterbury. Noting that you guys are the elected representatives and you have that mandate for the decision making. But I think it'll be really key this year, and it'll be a focus of mine personally. So that's my update. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll just move, we might as well go through all 3 of your times, or we'll add them all together, and if there's any questions at the end, we can use up whatever's left.
Cool. You or me?
Alright.
Okay. Kia ora koutou katoa, ko Oscar Taku Ingoa. So I'm the newly elected chairperson of the Christchurch West Mountain Water Zone Committee. I'll take the report, I guess, as read, so just go through a few things to start off with. Firstly, just thought I'd point out we're very excited for the year ahead. I think our zone committee has a just an excellent group of people. It's a really great space to be in, and I've enjoyed being on it for the last 4 years. So I think hopefully further through our new kind of like chair and deputy's time, we can bring you some more stuff about kind of where we're heading in our specific vision as a chair and deputy. But firstly, I'd just love to thank our previous chair, Annabelle Hasselman, who has stepped off the zone committee now. She was on it for a long time and is a pretty incredible community advocate. Is still doing a lot of community work in the Apawaho Health Kit, and it's just something that created a really welcoming and inclusive space. So I'd just like to mihi to her, and also our deputy chair from last year, Mike Patchett, who's still on his own committee, has an extreme amount of knowledge about his community and about everything to do with water and biodiversity. So just wanted to mihi to him as well. So thought I just note in the report, our LTP feedback focuses a lot on community activation and education. This is what we hear from our community groups that is something that matters to them, and this is what specifically I think in a quite urban zone is something that's really important for a wide range of people. And also to note, our action plan budget is fully allocated, and we received, we kind of both choose projects and kind of go out to the community. We had a total of about $217,000 of kind of funding. They weren't applications, but like people wanting funding for a $75,000 budget. So we think that's a pretty great endorsement of the need that's in the community and the projects which people have the scope to carry out and do. And lastly, we've now conducted our part of the formal zone committee review. That went really well. It's a great process. I know our committee has lots of really great thoughts as members of the community who have people they kind of do in lots of ways represent and have lots of great feedback to give. So looking forward to the continuation of that process. And hopefully I can bring you more slides and different things next time. I've only just been elected, so it's been a bit of a quick 3 weeks to get in and get ready for the meeting. So yeah, but next time there'll be a pretty PowerPoint for you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you've done very well. Next, please.
Yes, thank you. I'm Gina Weibel, the chair of the Banks Peninsula Water Zone Committee, and this is Trudy Bishop, the deputy chair, both re-elected again from last year. So the first item in the Banks Peninsula report outlines how our action plan funding is being allocated this financial year. I'd just like to note there is an error in the figures, as the Zone Committee revised these allocations prior to approving them to give more funding to the Banks Peninsula Conservation Trust, bringing it up to $5,000 by taking a small amount from each of the other projects. The Wairewa catchment group, Whakaora Aotearoa or Pātaka, is still our key project with $58,000 allocated to it. I spoke about this and the reasons for the Zone Committee's strong support of this project in our December report presentation. Today, I'd mainly like to focus on the long-term plan and the Zone Committee's priorities as outlined in our early input letter that dated 28th of September 2023. I'm pleased to see that Council is proposing to invest heavily in water infrastructure and renewals, particularly on Banks Peninsula, where much work is needed. Our letter advocated for the Kokorarata Port Levy and O'Kane's Bay water supplies, and it's good to see that these have been included, especially as there are significant issues in Kokorarata with residents often having to truck in water over summer. The Zone Committee also advocated for erosion and sediment control, and it's great to see that $9 million budget over 10 years for the Port Hills and Whakaraupo Littleton Harbour is included in the draft LTP. This is a program that the Zone Committee are keen to see progress on and to provide input to where we can. I'm also pleased to see that the Biodiversity Fund will continue and that the yearly amount is proposed to increase. The fund, along with the support given to Banks Peninsula-based organisations like the Rod Donald Trust, Pest Free Banks Peninsula Conservation Trust, as well as Enviro Schools, are important as they work with the community to improve biodiversity, as well as improving water quality and increasing resilience to climate change and extreme weather events. And currently front of mind following the Port Hills fires is how Indigenous vegetation can help prevent the spread of wildfires, as well as reducing landslide risk, capturing sediment before it gets into waterways, and keeping our freshwater streams cool in summer. I'm not sure where the funding for Whakaora sits in relation to the LTP, but I acknowledge that Council has signed up for a second 3-year period starting last year to continue the Whakaora partnership. The Zone Committee are advocating for an increase in funding as Whakaora works to achieve a healthy harbour with clean water, thriving biodiversity and marine life for all of us to enjoy. The top priority for the Zone Committee, as outlined in our letter, is fecal contamination in Whakaraupo Littleton Harbour. It's been great to see Council be proactive on this issue since fecal source tracking results identified it mid last year. We encourage Council to continue to support this work, whether it be through operations and maintenance or other budgets. It is important to get this right, as it's unacceptable to have human fecal matter ending up in the harbour, especially when it impacts on people's ability to swim and enjoy water sports in the harbour. So overall, the current draft LTP aligns well with the Zone Committee's priorities as outlined in our early input letter, and we hope to see that support continue. That's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've got time for a couple of questions. I'll ask you one. Have we managed to track down some of where this contamination was?
Yes, as far as I know, in Corsair Bay, there was an instance identified where wastewater was getting into the stormwater network.
Oh, good.
So we understand that that's been rectified, but we're waiting for a reset of the test results just to double check that that's actually contained it. But there's more work to be done because the water quality is a huge issue for the local residents and Christchurch residents that go to swim in cold water swimming all year round.
So you identified it, you tracked it, you found it, and it's been repaired.
Yeah.
And maybe there's more which we quietly keep tracking.
We need to do some follow-up testing. Follow-up testing needs to be done just to ensure that the remediation work has worked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then it just needs to be continuing.
Good to hear that the system is working. Thank you very much.
It is, yeah.
Councillor Johansson.
I'm not sure who's best to answer this question, but I'm just concerned that the Canterbury Water Management Strategy targets, there's no clear understanding of if we're meeting the targets, if we're not, and if we're not, what do we need to do to try and meet them? So I'm just wondering how you know how we're progressing against the targets, how that's measured, and how the community can have visibility around that work.
We can pass that question to Murray, who's in the room. If that works for you, Murray, that's all right. He's got that knowledge, probably more than we do.
Kia ora, everyone. Murray Griffin, I'm the facilitation team lead at Environment Canterbury with the Canterbury Water Management section. The progress reporting generates a lot of interest, and the introduction of 2 additional timeframes from the original progress reporting based on what the regional committee came up with in 2019 in terms of targets and goals is, I guess, intended to help bridge that. So that'll be next year, 2025, and then 2030, given that it's a 30-year strategy. So it is a long-term strategy. Measuring progress is done against, I guess, there's over 700 targets and recommendations in the strategy collectively. So the 2025 and 2030 targets and goals are looking to give some greater definition and focus to where we're at in the strategy at this stage. So that gives some direction, I guess, to where we'll be looking to measure that progress over the
Just
next
to give you
few years.
a very specific example, if I go on the ECAM website and look at the freshwater species and their habitat, the 2020 goal was an upward trend in diversity and abundance of native fish populations. Has the goal been met? Not met. And then it says we've not identified key Canterbury species to monitor, nor do we conduct regular fish monitoring to enable us to show if we are meeting the goal. And then if you look down, it just says looking forward to 2025, the partners will continue to invest in key projects to improve freshwater habitats. It's almost useless, really, because it says that you're not monitoring it, but it's a goal that we've set through the water management strategy, and there's no understanding of the resource required if we wanted to meet it, what we would need to do. I know that the Merrill Forum's getting updates, but even the Merrill Forum updates don't actually go through the goals that are on the ECAN's website and show how they're being met in terms of specific measurables. Is there anything that we can do as a city to get greater clarity about what's happening around meeting those targets, or do we just wait for another 2 years and then realise that they're not being met?
Can I jump in? Because I think there is actually an online kind of viewer to look at targets and limits. It's not specifically on that page, but there are kind of regional limits and water quality limits, and that's updated against recent data. It will not have that specific item that you're kind of talking about. One of the things I think as a zone committee, I would also like more updates around how we are tracking on progress. So through the regional planning processes, zone committees were really integral in developing a zipper, which is basically a series of actions designed to meet an outcome. And that is kind of there's two buckets really. There's kind of non-regulatory actions that you do on the ground and regulatory actions. And I think it's really important for zone committees to continue to ask for updates on how we are meeting both of those. You know, how are we tracking in terms of nitrates in groundwater? How are we tracking in terms of flows? You know, and how is the native biodiversity in our streams? So I fully agree that we need more clarity around these aspects.
We need to pass a resolution as a council to talk to the Mayoral Forum or talk to ECAN. Like who actually does that?
Well, certainly, I'd encourage that the city council is a partner to the strategy, and any suggestions that you've got, and I think the concerns that you're raising are valid ones for us to address. So as Matt's touched on, so it's certainly within the remit of a council to contribute to or give advice or direction to the strategy, because you're a partner to it.
So I've sort of raised this for about 6-7 years now, and just don't. So maybe we can I just put a formal resolution that the council requests staff to report back on how we can get visibility of actions to meet the CWMS targets?
Sorry, just repeat that, Yanni. Sorry.
Oh, is it possible to just get like a resolution that we actually formally request staff to get a briefing or a report on progress towards the CWMS targets?
So we're actually asking resolution. So we'll need to work with ECAN to see when they can actually, because this is their work and their report. So staff can certainly liaise with ECAN to identify when the report can be done and completed.
Do we need
We
to
don't do a
approach-
report, they do.
The Mayoral Forum gets a report. As I understand, the Mayoral Forum is now responsible for monitoring and reporting against the targets.
Once a year. Okay, Mary's got it written down. Yep, okay.
Yes. So is this all right?
Well, no, because the problem with this is by the time we get to 2025, these targets will not be met. Like there's been no progress for the last 5 years on some of them that we can see. So if we wait for another year
No, we're saying
and
earlier.
a half,
We're saying earlier. At the moment, it's planned for 2025, and this resolution is saying liaise with them about getting it earlier than that.
it's getting a report against the targets, not at the strategy in terms of 2025 and saying here's what we've done. It's actually understanding how we're progressing against the targets.
That says what you want to say, I'm sure.
No, it says, I just think it needs to add about the targets.
Completing. Is that, so you're saying Canterbury Water Management Strategy report on targets
Yeah, progress report. You could just put progress report.
earlier than 2025. So you're saying, because that's where it's time for 2025, and you're saying you want us to try and get it earlier than that.
Yeah, I think we need to.
That's
Yeah.
right. So that's what it says.
Right, so that is now part of the system,
You can if you want.
is it? Okay. Right, thank you for your presentation. Wonderful. Good to see you, young fella, and good luck. Okay, so now we've got that in there in item 2, yes. So I thank you very much for your presentations. I'll now ask for a mover and seconder, Councillor Cotter and Councillor Yanni. Yeah. Johansson. Okay, so I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Thank you. Carried. Thank you, Sam. Right, we'll now move on to item 13, which is just housekeeping. I am